Hello, my fairy tale things, and welcome back. Although I won't lie, I'm thinking of switching the intro to Hello, my brogors and ogresses. What do you think? Yes? No? Maybe so? Let's have a little poll. Let me know in the comments. Anyways, today's episode has an ogress theme. Yes, it's the Princess Fiona Doll-a-thon. All of the fashion dolls of our beloved ogress princess from the Shrek franchise. There's like two, maybe three dolls. But I swear this is interesting. There's actually some cool stuff to talk about here. If you were a fan of the Shrek movies and fashion dolls, it's kind of interesting how our favorite leading Princess Fiona was not the one that got the proper doll treatment. Because the most iconic Shrek dolls from back in the day, the early 2000s, are ones like these. This is the Barbie Loves Shrek collab that Mattel did, where Barbie is kind of dressed as a Shrek superfan, just like me and just like you watching this video. A couple years later, rival doll company, MGA, the people who make the Bratz dolls, sniped the Shrek license from Mattel for dolls and gave us a proper Fiona doll, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. But they also gave us a Bratz Shrek collab right here that is probably the more well-known of the Shrek dolls. This item is a bit of a holy grail among Shrek fans and the doll collecting community as a whole. I don't have one, as you can see. She's very, very rare. But I think it's interesting that the two main dolls we got for the Shrek movies back in the day are just dolls that already existed dressed as Shrek fans. They're not the actual female lead of the Shrek franchise. The fierce and lovable Princess Fiona did not get too many dolls. So today, I'm going to walk you through the doll history of Fiona. There will be some surprises in here. As you can see, I do have the Fiona Shrek 2 doll, an item that was nearly impossible to get, and I'm going to open it on camera. I'm going to crack this box open, sealed for 20 years, but I'm jumping ahead of myself because I really want to open this doll. But we need to go all the way back to the beginning, before Shrek 1 even came out, when we had a prototype doll of what could have been. This is the unproduced Fiona doll for the original Shrek film. It was designed by Greg Artur, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I'll have it spelled here. He was the guy that designed all of the 1990s iconic Disney movie dolls from films like Aladdin. If you had those classic Jasmine dolls with the transforming dresses and all that, he was the guy that made them. And he proposed this Princess Fiona doll. And this doll would have had a transforming dress where her green dress turns into the wedding dress from the end of the movie. She also would have had an exploding board from the scene where she cooks breakfast, and even her frog balloon as an attachable accessory when she's first falling in love with Shrek. I think a doll like this would have been a pretty poetic end to the 1990s Disney dolls. Not too long after Shrek, Disney really changed up their doll game. And this Fiona would have been like the last gasp of that 90s Disney doll. You know, the one where all their arms are like this, like their C-3PO, and they have the cool little bendy legs. And if this doll was released, it would have been remembered as one of the best Shrek products. Like, I could just tell by looking at it, even though the prototype would have differed from the final doll, it would have been amazing. Oh well, for whatever reason, it was canceled. My personal theory, I think Disney sent the mafia to all of the toy companies and told them not to merchandise Shrek stuff. They were scared of Shrek. That changed by the later films, but when Shrek 1 came out, Dreamworks just did not have a big retail presence. There wasn't a lot of toys for movies like Ants, Prince of Egypt, and Road to El Dorado. But with the first Shrek film, we did finally get a toy line, but it was from McFarlane Toys, a small independent company led by Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, which I think is interesting that Hasbro and Mattel passed on Shrek. Again, I think Disney may have held these companies at gunpoint or something, but either way, no matter what happened, Shrek fell into the hands of a small independent company, but they had big plans. Check out Toy Fair 2001. This is when McFarlane Toys debuted the Shrek toys for the whole world to see. All of the amazing action figures and plush. But I want you to look at this image here in all of its JPEG blurry glory. God, I wish we could have a high quality version of this image, because I want you to pay attention to the bottom corner. Look where there's a Shrek plush next to a dragon plush that actually was unproduced. But in the middle of them, there does appear to be a large Fiona doll. Possibly a fashion doll, possibly a plush. We did get one Fiona doll from McFarlane Toys, and this takes us to Fiona doll number 1, and that is this doll here, the McFarlane Toys mini plush. Very richly detailed, technically not a fashion doll since her clothing is non-removable, but she still is a doll, and she does have combable hair. Now, I actually did a whole video on the history of the McFarlane Shrek mini dolls, and I think it's honestly pretty interesting, so check that video out if you want to know more about this entire line of dolls. But just know that, long story short, the Fiona doll is my favorite of the bunch and the best doll. Considering she doesn't even have a plastic body underneath, they did a pretty phenomenal job of capturing her human form. Even though her hands are kind of like pathetic little oven mitts, and she's stuffed with little plastic pellets like a Beanie Baby would be, they did a great job. And the head sculpt is phenomenal. The hair is pretty gorgeous. It does look like the animation model from the original film. This mini doll line did not include an ogress version, probably because Fiona stays a human most of the original Shrek film. Heck, the fact that she's an ogress at all is a spoiler. It's the twist at the end of the movie. So a lot of Shrek 1 merchandise was strictly human Fiona. But by the time we got to Shrek 2, well, you'd think it would change, but it actually didn't. Companies like Hasbro just made toys of Fiona in her human form overwhelmingly. It's frustrating as a collector of Shrek that I can build this collection and always be short of one character. It would actually take, with the DVD release of the film, when it came to video rental stores, yeah, who remembers stores like Blockbuster? Well, they had a very small product launch for the DVD of the film, with toys that were exclusive to Blockbuster Video. And one of those toys that you could only get when renting the movie was this Fiona fashion doll. This is the rarest of the Fiona fashion dolls, and this is one I've actually been looking for a few years now. I was very lucky. I received it as a Christmas present from my parents, who support me and my insane Shrek hobby. So thank you, Mummy and Daddy, for sending me the Fiona doll. And now I'm going to open her on camera. So let's flip the camera around and check out this extremely rare doll and what the hype is all about. Well, here she is, the nicknamed Blockbuster Fiona doll. It's got it right there, just so you know that this can only be bought at Blockbuster Video, which does make this a very desirable piece. She does come in a beautiful displayable window box, and considering the rarity of this doll, she would look nice just displayed in the box. But I'm an opener. I open all my toys, and we're going to crack this open. But first, let's check out the box. Princess Fiona. And then on the side, we have this curious art of Shrek and Fiona drawn. Almost looks like it was drawn by a child. Maybe this is supposed to be reminiscent of Fiona's diary from the movie when she's dreaming of marrying Prince Charming. I don't know, but this artwork was actually used on other products aimed at the girls market. I say that in quotation marks. Anyone can like Fiona. I'm a dude and I collect Fiona stuff. And it says Friends Forever, but I do remember there being bedding that also used this strange artwork on it. But from what I gather, this is the only toy that used the Shrek kind of girly design here. But it is very beautiful artwork, and I do wonder if any other products out there used this interesting artwork. Now, here's something very depressing. $7.99. Yeah, this nice doll was only $8, which is honestly cheap even back then. If I recall, the action figures were quite expensive for the time. So maybe Blockbuster was like taking a loss on this doll, hoping that they would recoup the loss with video rentals. Either way, they definitely delivered a impressive looking toy that would have been hard to resist if your kid wanted to check out the movie and was a fan of the princess. Now, we see Blockbuster and the Dreamworks logo, and then also the Beverly Hills Teddy Bear Company. They are the ones that made this doll. They were giving a pretty large license for the Shrek films to be able to make dolls and figures separate from companies like Hasbro and MGA, who were the kind of main licensees for the movies. But that's enough procrastinating. I'm going to do something insane now. I'm going to open up the box of a several $100 doll, because that's what we do here. Oh man, there we go. We've opened it. Here we go. Oh my goodness. There you go. So there's the box. Don't worry, I'm going to keep it and display it behind her. And here is our Fiona doll. So the shoes, hard plastic, they're non-removable. And then we have the detailed dress, which does seem to be heavily inspired by the honeymoon dress that she wears for most of the movie. However, the dress itself is blue, and I always assumed the honeymoon dress was white. Although the lighting does make it look bluish in some scenes, so maybe they just interpreted the lighting as blue. And there's a look at the head sculpt, which is just phenomenal with the little crown there. So let's open her up. And here she is out of the box. And first impressions, wow, this doll is everything I thought it would be and then some. She's made of this vinyl material as opposed to plastic. The dress, pretty amazing. The head sculpt, absolutely phenomenal. The crown, I love how it's vac metallized, which gives it a real sheen, a real brightness. And it's just a very regal-looking Fiona. Perfect for Shrek 2, like she's going to go on a honeymoon or a royal wedding. Articulation is pretty limited. You only get swivels in the hands and in the legs. And as an actual fashion doll, she's really not going to function that well. Heck, the dress itself, it is removable, but it's tough. Like, I feel like I'm going to rip or break something when I start to remove it. So we're not going to remove the dress. But as you can see, she does have her own unique body type, a plus-sized buck, which means this may actually be one of the earliest plus-sized princess fashion dolls ever made. Disney certainly was not making anything like this yet. Dreamworks was breaking new ground. I mean, Fiona is probably one of the best known and coolest and fiercest princesses who happens to be plus-sized, and I love that they gave her that unique body type, you know? Too often do we see just human Fiona. I feel like human Fiona, making so many toys of it, is almost like going against the core philosophy of Shrek itself. It's not about being, in quotation marks, pretty, what, you know, the world wants to see you as. It's about being yourself, warts and all. You know, Fiona accepts herself as an ogress. Even if the rest of society doesn't, it doesn't matter because Shrek loves her for who she is. And I always thought that message was really beautiful for Shrek. And this doll does a great job of capturing Ogress Fiona's beauty, because I think this is a very beautiful design. I love Ogress Fiona. I think she is absolutely gorgeous. One of my early childhood crushes right there, if not my first childhood crush from watching the Shrek 2 DVD so many times. And even as a guy who played with action figures, like, I would have loved this toy as a kid, just because it's merchandise of Fiona as an ogress. Now, my only complaint with this doll, by the way, the hair, didn't even mention it, but it's nice. It's really nice quality. I'm not like a doll person. I don't know like what the best quality hair is, but it's pretty good for what you get. My only complaint about this doll is the size. It's really odd. She's like 8 inches. She's like Mego size, if anyone remembers the old Mego dolls. So you're not really going to find a Shrek that scales with her. Now, the mini doll, the human mini doll, almost works perfectly. Like, you know, that's pretty good. But then you get Shrek into the equation. And yeah, the Shrek mini doll. I mean, he doesn't even scale with human Fiona properly. Shouldn't she be a little smaller? But, you know, it kind of works, but the proportions are odd. and he doesn't really stand. And then, the action figures are gonna come, like, to her shoulder's length. So she really is just a one-off, just a thing you would display on its own. But if you contract this doll, I actually think she's worth the rarity. I finally see what the hype is about. This is a really, really good doll. The Beverly Company and Dreamworks really killed it with this one. This doll is absolutely phenomenal. But we have to move on because Shrek the Third came out in 2007, and we actually did get a major doll line. This was the only Shrek movie to have a proper fashion doll line, the Shrek Princess Collection from MGA Entertainment. Yes, the people behind Bratz, and in the 2000s, the king of the doll world. They were actually beating Mattel in doll sales at one point. They got Shrek. And they gave us a princess doll line that included Princess Fiona, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Cinderella, and Rapunzel. If you remember, she actually was the twist villain of Shrek the Third, kind of the bad guy. But these dolls are also very revered in the doll community. They can go for a ton of money, and they're very rare. I just happen to have Fiona, and my example is not even complete. This was actually one I have been kind of piecing together from mini flea markets. First, I found the doll nude, then I found the dress, and then the head, so I'm like building my own Fiona. Yeah, her hair is not in the best of shape. That's something I'm gonna have to work on. But you'll notice she's got a human body, and then she's got this big ogre head. And the doll had a transforming gimmick where you would take the head off here, and she would transform between ogre and human. Look at that. Wow. And this wasn't the only gimmick. They also came with little trinkets like lockets and jewelry. They also had Shrek tattoos on their elbows and little cuts in their dress so you could see their tattoos. The box even highlighted to check out their cool body art. Like, what even was the point of that? Was MGA just kind of trying to flex in front of Mattel? Because, like, Mattel had that whole controversy years back with Barbie and tattoos. So MGA was like, we got Shrek and we're going to put tattoos on the dolls. And I think this whole, like, Disney princess lineup was just one big flex at Mattel. Like, MGA just wanted to say, hey, we're making Snow White and Cinderella dolls and we're going to outsell you. Because if you look at these dolls, they scream more Disney princess than they do Shrek. Granted, they do have Shrek qualities to them. Of course, you've got transforming ogress Fiona, and all of the princesses had karate action, so they can duke it out in battle, just like Fiona when she beats up Robin Hood and his merry men in the first movie. And they all came with a pair of sweatpants and sculpted sports bras underneath, so you can switch them out into their athletic uniforms and they can kick butt, which I appreciate. That is very Shrek-like and very original. But the doll designs just don't look like the Shrek princesses. They look like more original designs from MGA. This could entirely be because of film production. I know movies take a long time to make, and usually the toy lines are just based off of concept artwork, so maybe MGA was just basing these off of very early Shrek the Third ideas. But I think there's something more sinister. I think MGA was trying to, like, take a shot at Disney with these dolls. Look at the pink packaging and look at the princess sub-branding. And even beyond these dolls, MGA had a whole product line of Shrek princesses that was separate from the main Shrek toy line. So, for example here, you may have noticed this big plastic Fiona next to me, and this is the bedroom lamp light, also aimed at the girls market. And yeah, it's Fiona and her dress lights up. She's even got her original Shrek princess's tag here with the pink labeling. So they were definitely trying to sub-market Shrek as like its own princess brand, similar to how Disney Princesses is marketed completely separately from the Disney movies. And yeah, it's a cool lamp. I do like it. The sculpt on it is nice. It's very stylized, and if you look at, like, the pillow, for instance, from the Shrek Princesses line, they actually drew the princesses in 2D and kind of made them look like Disney princesses. Like, they were Disneyifying the Shrek characters. I think MGA did a fine job with these dolls. I don't think they're perfect. If you look at Fiona, the human head sculpt is just iffy. The forehead seems too large, and she looks better with the ogress head. Of course, that's disproportionate to the rest of the body because the body isn't plus sized. I think just like maybe some attachable ogre hands or feet or something would have like made the transformation more convincing. But when you see her with the human hands and the big ogre head, she looks like she's wearing a Halloween mask. It's ridiculous. Who would want to play with this? I also think MGA really could have solved this line a little more by giving us at least some version of an interactable Shrek doll and maybe the onion carriage. That way, like, people playing with Shrek dolls have more of a scenario than just the princesses. Because as it is, it really is like we have Disney princesses at home kind of deal. Now, curiously, 1 year before these dolls came out, there was another doll line by MGA competing with Disney called the Princess Storytime Collection, featuring public domain versions of Snow White and Cinderella, and these dolls look pretty familiar. Granted, they don't have the karate action or Shrek tattoos, so they're not the exact same doll, but if you look at the face and the kind of cutesy design of them, it does certainly seem like MGA just took the Storytime collection and retrofitted them into Shrek dolls. Maybe that, or it was some sort of synergy where both lines were developed at the same time. So maybe MGA was just kind of trying to save a buck and make a Shrek doll line quickly and cheaply, but I don't know, when I see the Shrek princesses turned into these 2D Disneyfied versions and stuffed in pink boxes, I can't help but feel like it goes against what the Shrek franchise is about. This was like the Disneyfication of Shrek. And I think there was a huge missed opportunity, even to this day, for a proper Shrek doll line. Yeah, Shrek is messy. Shrek is about being gross and being tomboyish and different. And that's not really a traditional girls princess brand. But you have to remember that not every little girl and some boys that play with dolls are gonna want a pretty princess doll. There are lots of tomboy girls out there that would have loved an ogress Fiona doll, mud, warts, and all. Heck, only a few years after Shrek the Third came out, the best-selling doll line was Monster High, a doll line that featured fish, vampires, and even green-skinned dolls. Look at the success of Monster High. You can't tell me that a Shrek line with a whole bunch of ogresses and onion carriages wouldn't have sold to at least somebody. There was definitely a market out there for it. MGA was just too scared to reach that market. So instead, they took Shrek and they attempted to transform Fiona into a Disney princess that she isn't. Now, for the fourth and final film, Shrek Forever After, in the United States where I live, we did not get any Fiona dolls. But if you were lucky enough to live in the country of Brazil, then you did have some Fiona options. They made this vinyl doll hybrid, kind of like this one here, but with less articulation, but still with combable hair. There was even a version earlier for Shrek the Third that seems to be even rarer. And there was an 18-inch Fiona doll for Shrek 4 that almost resembles an American Girl doll in its style. These are very cool and very rare dolls. Brazil actually had an awesome toy line for the fourth and final Shrek movie that was exclusive to their country. And I did make a video on that, so if you do want to know the fascinating history of those dolls, check out that video. But yeah, if you're in Brazil, I'm super jealous of your Fiona dolls and I want them. And before we close out, I almost forgot. That's right, I have one more Fiona doll, which is technically the most accurate. Yes, forget all these dolls around me because there exists a doll that is the most realistic Fiona doll ever made. Are you ready? This doll looks just like how Fiona looks in real life. That's right, it's Cameron Diaz. Okay, yeah, this doesn't count, but if I ended this video without talking about this doll, like, come on, I have to mention this. This is the Cameron Diaz doll for Charlie's Angels, which came out a year before Shrek. And Jakks Pacific made this doll. And for a Playline doll, like, aimed at the kids market, wow, this doll is insanely realistic. Look at the face. That does look exactly like Cameron Diaz. So this is just a fun little novelty, and she does look great when she's with the Fiona dolls. You know, where would Fiona be without Cameron Diaz? Her bubbly personality and great voice really brought the character to life in the 4 Shrek films. Soon to be 5. And I sure hope that a little over a year from now, when Shrek 5 is releasing, we get some new Shrek dolls. I would love to see it. So hopefully we'll be right back here unboxing whatever new Fiona dolls we get for the 5th Shrek entry. But that's all I got for today. Let me know what your favorite Fiona doll is and what Fiona dolls you would love to see in the future. Thanks for watching, and as always, you should have a happily ever after.